Hello, welcome to the course. In this lesson, we'll be talking about or learning how to navigate through Udemy portal or Udemy course while you're learning. So if you are first time on the Udemy and this is your first course, this is going to be really helpful for you. In case you're already familiar with other things, how to navigate across different options of the course, then you may skip this lesson and directly start learning. But for those who are for the first time, here are how you can navigate through it. So first option you see right side on the top, you can see the progress bar where you can see how much progress you have done, how much courses have been done and how much are remaining. Then after that on the right side, you'll see a list of content which have the subtopics. Like for this course, demand forecasting, you will have introduction, forecasting essentials, demand management basics, and these are like kind eight sections. And under this sections, you'll find the lessons which will be covered in the course. So if I click on forecasting essentials, you will find 10 lessons under it. And if I go on third it has 11, 12, 13. So these are 4 5 lessons under it. You'll also find some of the assignments which you need to solve and submit it. And then yeah, this is the course content. Then on the left side, this is the video section. You can play, pause the video
Hello
here.
everyone, in this video we'll be
And
discussing.
yeah, one point I wanted to make, this is the screen which you'll see if you log in through your laptop or personal computer. For an app on phone, the screen would be different, but the options remains the same. Another thing, this Udemy course gives you a lifetime access, and you can anytime see the videos with your pace. And once you complete everything, you get a certificate for it. Coming back to the options, the first is overview. So overview will have um, how much lectures are there, how many students are enrolled. So this course has around 1059 students already enrolled. Language, captions, uh, number of hours taken to complete the course, description which author instructor has given uh, about the course, what is covered in the course or why you should take the course. Then you'll have what you will learn section. Then at the end there is the profile of the instructor. Next section is Q&A section. This is the most important section. Here I request all my student, whatever issues you feel, whatever doubts you have, whatever problems you have, please go ahead and put your queries in Q&A section. If you have a particular issue with certain content, certain doubts, certain concepts are not clear, you can always go into the Q&A section and get your doubts clarified. So it's a very important section for students. And me as an instructor, if you my response time is within 1 2 days, you will get a proper response for your questions, whatever you put in the Q&A sections. 90% of the time I'll reply back in 1 2 days. So please take benefit of this Q&A section. Next is the section of notes. These are the notes given by instructor. And there is announcement section. There are some announcements that instructor needs to make, so he puts here. And then there are reviews. Here you can come and see the reviews, what are the different reviews given by uh, different other students. And there are other learning tools, so here you can schedule your learning time and other things. So I recommend all the student to use this section. If you have any queries, please put it. If you see any queries or any room for improvement, please put it in Q&A section. And I request all my students to take the time out and give good reviews to my course. It's a way to encourage me, show your appreciation towards the course. So this is it for this lesson, and you can get started right away. All the best for your learning. Thank you and have a great day ahead. Hi there, welcome back to the course. In this lesson, I'll be talking about how you can enable the captions, subtitles, transcript, how you can slow down the video, and other things. This video is meant so that you can take the maximum information out of the course lessons. And also, secondary reason, there are sometimes students who are from different part of the uh, globe or the world, and we both of us being from different part of the world may have tough time understanding the accent, the way I speak, the language. You may find my accent very thick or various other reasons. So this is the video. If you enable these options, You can get the captions, subtitles, slow down the video a bit, and take the maximum out of the course lesson. So here we go. So once you logged in into your course, left side of the video, the course lesson, you can have the speed rate option. If you want to increase or decrease the speed as per your convenience, you can do it from here. Once done with
Every
this,
3 to 5 years,
once you have selected the
not
speed
3 years,
which you
but
are
every five
comfortable
years
with,
they do
you
change.
can also enable the captions. So here you see, here I have already enabled, but you can switch it off. And when you switch it on, you have the captions. After every 3 to 5 years, you see here what
Their
the author is or
content, and
the
every 3 years they
instructor
change
is
their
speaking
questions in the exams.
live
Okay,
in the video.
yeah. So as now,
Now, along with this, if you want a transcript also, so transcript option is also available. Here, just beside the caption, you will find the transcript option. You can turn it on, turn it off as per your convenience. And there is an auto scroll option as well, which follows the video once you play it. So this is it for this lesson. Go ahead and turn on your subtitles, transcriptions, slow down or faster your video down as per your convenience, and take maximum out of this lesson. So thank you and have a great day. Hi there, welcome to the course. This is Akshay, your instructor for this course. Before we get started right away, let me introduce myself. Let me tell you my story as a supply chain professional. So here on the screen, you see my Udemy profile. Starting about my supply chain career, I have extensive experience in different field of supply chain. I have worked with various companies across different industries, help them optimize their operations, their supply chain, their planning processes, management, which eventually helped those organizations to have reduced cost, better customer service level, and efficient processes. To be specific, in which all industries I have worked in FMCG, foods and beverages. I have worked in automotive, car manufacturing companies, then semiconductor and chemical as well. My passion about sharing my knowledge of supply chain and expertise have brought me here, and I have created multiple Udemy courses. So I have wide variety of courses starting from forecasting, inventory management, demand planning, production planning, how to crack CPIM certifications or other supply chain certification. Talking more about my education credentials in supply chain, I am myself certified by APICS CPIM. APICS is American Production Inventory Control Society. CPM is the name of the certificate, which is Certified in Planning and Inventory Management, formerly known as Certified in Production and Inventory Management. For those who don't know about CPM, CPM is one of the well-known course, well accepted, most recognized certification in supply chain. I also have supply chain and demand analytics certification from NITI. NITI is one of the best colleges in India for supply chain. Currently, I'm also pursuing my micromasters in supply chain from MIT. I'm committed to delivering high quality content and providing exceptional support to my student. Here are the list of few courses which I have on Udemy, starting from demand planning, production planning, forecasting with Excel, CPM certification, strategies to make career changes in supply chain, and whatnot. So this was about me. I'm happy to share my knowledge with all of you through Udemy, and I would like to best for this course and have happy learning.
hello everyone. In this video, we'll be discussing why to take CPM at all in the first place, how this course or the certification, certified in planning and inventory management, is going to help me. What's in for me? So before I get into the details of how to clear it, what are the exam details, go the syllabus, and everything else, let me just first get those points across that how this course is going to help you. The first point is that it gives you an added advantage in the interview process. So many websites or many of they claim that it helps you to get a job itself in the first place, but for me, what I have experienced, that it at least eases the first rounds of selections, which are getting resume shortlisted, getting into the first round or second round. It does help you into the initial level of interview selection process. And I have also experienced it in my previous two job switching, when I've been contacted by different employers. uh, you do get more opportunities, more welcomes, more red carpet welcomes for the interview processes. At least after that, how to clear the interview, that's a different ballgame altogether. Second advantage about doing the CPM certification would be that you get a very in-depth cross-functional knowledge. So when I say cross-functional knowledge, I mean you know how different functions interact with each other, which are the different KPIs or different functions, especially into the manufacturing setup, how the finance work, the production, the marketing, supply chain, customer service, and how all this function collectively help the organization to work on different levels. Different levels means on business level, strategic level, tactical level, and operational level. So once you go through this course, you'll have in-depth knowledge of all these things. Next, so APICS, the American Production and Inventory Control Society, who uh, takes this course, he says the professionals who have the certifications, they tend to earn 18 to 20% more than the professional who don't have it. And it's pretty obvious, because once you have there are not many professional in the market having this certification. So that's the one reason. Secondly, as I discussed, you have that uh, in-depth knowledge about the supply chain, which through which you do add a lot of value to the company, and the company knows about it, and that's why you get paid for it more compared to other organizations, other candidates, sorry. Then what I have observed in last 4 5 years, even when I was trying to switch my jobs or getting job into good companies, uh, when you go through their job descriptions in the qualification sections, many of the companies, they have started mentioning that the APEX certification is mandatory, especially for the managerial roles, or uh, the roles high level in the organization. The certifications, be it CSCP or CPIM or CLTD, if it's a logistic centered role, the companies have started mentioning that the APEX certification is mandatory. If not mandatory, many are mentioning that it is an added advantage into for this job role. Next good thing about this certification is it's recognized all across the globe, and once you have it, you can get job through it, not just India, Pakistan, China, America, anywhere. Next, this CPI program, its content, the course is a way that they continuously keep on updating their content with the latest trends, latest supply chain practices into the market, into the industry. And every 3 to 5 years, not 3 years, but every 5 years, they do change their content, and every 3 years they change their questions in the exams. Okay. Yeah, so as now just now we discussed the best supply chain practices. In the book you will find the best of the supply chain practices for logistics, inventory planning, production planning, astronomy planning. You'll have them all under the course. Next good thing about this course is you'll learn the language of supply chain management, right terms, what is Heijunka, what is master production schedule, what is sales and operational planning, what are different terms, buffer inventory, transit inventory. You learn the the terms which are used globally across the industry for supply chain management. So once you know this language, when interacting and the interview, the one who is taking interview knows that this guy knows stuff. Or if you are a consultant, about consultant presenting anything to a client, the client knows, "Oh, this guy knows the stuff." So to summarize everything, what changes this course is going to bring within you? So you'll be more expert in your field of planning. You'll be more marketable, because as I mentioned earlier, there are not many candidates out there who have the certification. And lastly, you'll be more knowledgeable. Yeah, so that's it. What these are not The only benefits you'll get from the CPM certification, but this is what mainly I felt and what I have seen people um, getting help by this certification. Thank you. Hello everyone. In this video we'll be discussing who are the ideal candidates or the ideal professions or the profiles for which this CPM certification is made. So this would be the questions ringing in your mind, whether I am the right candidate, right person to go for the certification. So we'll be discussing that list of professions profiles for which the CPM is going to add value in their career. To start with, first is demand planner. The CPM certification certified in planning and inventory management, which was earlier known as certified in production and inventory management. You'll find uh, lot of planning roles when as I go through the list. And the first one is demand planner, production planner, inventory planner, sales and operation planner, ERP consultant. So if you are a consultant who works for implementing a tool, a supply chain tool like SAP, Rapid Response, O9, or implementation of this end-to-end tool to your client, so having uh, end-to-end understanding of supply chain or the manufacturing setup, how it works, so this course is really going to help you. If you are a supply chain manager, so just to clear one thing, generally it's recommended if you are planning to become supply chain manager. Um, Many companies they look for CSCP, but having a CPM is always an added advantage. CPM is more on the ground level reality or more on operational level. But if you are looking for more managerial content as a supply chain manager, so CSCP is going to be a better course for you. But still, having a CPM is always an added advantage. But first preference you should give to CCP and secondly to CPM. Then if you are a factory manager, supply planner, purchase executive, so these are the main functions. If you are into this profile or if you're planning to get into this profile from some other department, CPM is the course for you. Or even if so, even though I have mentioned demand planner here or production planner, so if you want to become manager into same role, you want to become demand planning manager, production planning manager, inventory planning manager, so for all those managers also this certificate is going to help. That's it. Thank you. Hello everyone. In this video we'll be discussing the syllabus of the CPM exam. So as discussed before also, the exam is divided into two parts, CPM part 1 and CPM part 2. So CPM part 1 will be discussing more of the basics of supply chain in general, and in detail a little bit about production planning, demand planning, S&OP planning, and it will touch base upon logistics, purchase and supply planning. And part 2 will be in-depth going off mainly of these three things: demand planning, production planning, S&OP planning, and a little bit about the logistics. So in this two slides I have put the brief syllabus of both part 1 and part 2. So before we get into this, let me also explain how part and part 2 differs. So part 1 is almost 50% into the syllabus in terms of quantity as well as depth, and part 2 is, so when you buy the hard copy of CPM uh, study material, CPM part 2 will have two books, and CPM part 1 will be almost half of the size of compared to part 2. And even on the difficulty level of exam, part 1 is very easy compared to part 2. So let me just quickly take you through the syllabus of part 1. So it's uh, supply chain overview, fundamentals of demand management, supply planning, execution of supply planning, inventory management, continuous improvement and quality. So this is also additional feature you'll find. Since CPM is more into manufacturing, it will talk a lot about lean methodologies, continuous improvement in terms of supply chain and also in terms of quality. Talking about part 2 syllabus, so part 2 is, as I mentioned, it goes into more detail or more depth. So how supply chain influences or affects or works on business level, strategic level, or how S&OP planning is affecting on or playing role on different levels, managing demand, supply, inventory. And in the 7 domain, you also see plan and manage distribution. So it also talks about managing distribution or logistics or transportation will be discussed in detail here. And also this part 2 also ends with the continuous improvement or the technologies. So as I mentioned, I'm repeating it again. So it will give you a very good lean understanding, lean perspective of supply chain. So whenever it's written continuous improvements, it's basically about the lean methodology. So that's it for the syllabus. Hello everyone, welcome to this video. In this video we'll be discussing about exam details for CPA exams. So first thing, the CPM, it's in two parts. So first part has a different exam, second part has a different exam, and both the exams have 150 question, 130 operational question, 20 pre-test, and the exam will be of 3.5 hours, total of 350 marks, and the passing is 80%. That's a big thing. That's one of the most challenging thing about the CPM exam, and you'll come to know how much challenging it is once in the next video I'll show you what's the passing ratio for the CPM certification. So you need to score 80%, which means you need to be thorough with the 80% of the syllabus. So any number below 300, even 299 out of 350, you are failed and you need to reappear for the exam. What's the methodology for the exam? It's a scaled score methodology. So as per this methodology, the ratings or the score a question will have will depend upon how much difficult it is, which simply means easier question has low scoring, a difficult question will have a higher scoring. And the exam is computer based exam. You need to go to a Pearson center nearby your home and book a test and give the test. And the good thing about is that you easily get the slots available around in a 1 month span. I stay in Pune and there are quite a good number of centers in Pune, and there are certain centers available everywhere, and you can easily get exam booked in anywhere in the time of month. But um I'll suggest not to wait till last time and schedule the exam in advance whenever you're planning to give it. Not to wait for 1 month, because once you have scheduled the exam, you becomes more goal oriented. You have target to achieve. So yeah. So as I mentioned in the beginning of the video, there were two parts. So whatever I'm discussing, it's about for both part 1 and part 2, CPM part 1 and part 2. Like the certification, the full certification you get once you have cleared both part 1 and part 2. So what happens during COVID? So I appeared my part 2 exam in COVID, and most of the Pearson center were closed. So at that time they had allowed to give exams from home, and this was the protector based exam where invigilator would be there online monitoring you, monitoring while giving the exam, and they conduct exams very seriously and sincerely. You won't have any chances of cheating or anything. So be prepared, whether it's going to the center or at home. uh, there is no way out. Next is retaking your exam. So what if I fail in an exam? So you need to wait for 14 days. After 14 days you can reschedule the exam. So that's not the big thing. The major challenge here is the amount to reappear for the exam. So the cost is almost $385, and if you are in INR or Indian rupees, it's 26K. So that's a big amount. So I'll really suggest to prepare thoroughly before enrolling or getting into the CPM certifications. And there are good number of chances that you won't pass it into the first attempt if you are not doing it sincerely. In the next video, we'll be discussing about the passing ratio, which will give you a hint that how much seriously you need to take the exam. Thank you very much. In this lesson, let us talk about one of the biggest confusion which employees have, which candidates have while preparing for APICS certification. So they know, they're aware that okay, APICS certification will give me an added advantage in my career, but they're confused among which certification to go for. So generally there are three most opted certifications, starting with CACP, then there is CPM, and then there is CLTD. So CLTD is mostly very clear. It's for the one for logistic function. So if you're a logistic guy, you want to have a career in that, CLTD is for you. Major confusion comes for these two, CACP and CPM. So in this lesson, I'll share a few thoughts which I have, which will probably give you a clarity whether you should go for CACP or CPM. Don't worry, just because my course is about CPM, I won't have a biased judgment towards CPM. I'll try to share whatever I have learned about these different courses. I have friends who have cleared CACP, who have cleared CPM, who have cleared all two of them, both two of them, all three of them. Okay, let us discuss. So this is a graph, a very famous graph, which you will find it on the internet, which talks about which domain these certifications cover. So let us start with CPM. So if you see any supply chain process, they have basically these 5 steps, which is to plan, source, make, deliver, and return. So planning involves planning of raw materials, inventory, um, your FG demand, everything comes into this planning. Then second stage, once you have the plan, you start sourcing it. So this is with the procurement team. The procurement team, both strategic and tactical, comes under this, and they plan, they develop vendors, suppliers, raw materials for the production, which is the next stage, make stage. So this includes production plan, production, production scheduling. So all of those comes into make. Then there is deliver. So once you have made the product, you have to ship it to the customer. So that shipment, before that shipment, you may take that product to the warehouse, which can be a plant warehouse. After that, it may go to the distributors center, then to the customer. So this transportation warehouse management comes under deliver. Then under the umbrella of sustainability, we also have reverse logistics, where we want to take back if our product is damaged, we want to take it back to the plant, repair it, give it back, or when its life cycle ends, then we want to take it and have a good disposal. We may also want to have reverse logistic for the packaging material if the packaging material is unused by the customer, and that's something that need to be treated before directly disposing it to the environment. So we bring it back, we do certain treatment to that packaging material, then dispose it. So that is in nutshell the return. So these are the 5 steps for any manufacturing end-to-end process. So starting from planning to delivering it to the customer, and even taking care of the disposables so that it doesn't harm the environment. So this is the process. Now let us see which of the certification falls or covers up how much domain. So starting with the CPM. The CPM generally talks about planning, sourcing, and making. You'll find a little bit of syllabus um, in CPM as well for deliver and return, but that's hardly 2 to 5%, just for you to give the basic understanding. They won't go into detail about delivering and returning. But CLTD, if you see, its main focus is this, about delivering and return. So if I ask you what's the major difference between CPM and CLTD, CLTD mostly works till the time the product is within the domain of manufacturing it into the plant. Once the product starts its journey to reach to the customer, then it's CLTD, and it's a CLTD certification. Now if you ask me what is CACP, well, CACP covers end to end everything. It would be mostly like a mini supply chain MBA. So it will cover everything from plan, source, make, deliver, and return. So if you are targeting a role of a supply chain manager, then CACP is one of the course which you should be targeting for. But if you see yourself into the planning, sourcing and making in these three domain down the line, next 5 years, 10 years, then CPM is for you. But yeah, you are already very high into the ladder of supply chain, and you see yourself soon becoming a supply chain manager or handling a full supply chain team, then CACP courses for you. But yeah, there are examples in the industry where managers or people, they do go for both CPM and CACP. One more major difference between CPM and CACP is CPM is more of a more operational and of tactical understanding or tactical knowledge of supply chain. Rather CACP, you will have a lot of managerial, strategic, business discussion of supply chain. So CACP is bit of a higher level. Then CPM will have more ground level, tactical, operational knowledge concepts in your core study material. So based on this, you can take a decision. If you ask me personally, if you are in early stage of your career and you are uh, either or you are in plan source making, then you should go for CPM. Then maybe down the line 5-10 years when you're close to become supply chain manager, then you can go for CSP. But yeah, any one of them works, not necessarily required. So in market and companies, if you have either of the certificate CPM CCP, it does work. You will rarely find a job description where they want only CCP or CPM we won't take, or only CPM CCP we won't take. So both do work, but if you have time, opportunity, uh, it's always good to go for both. So this is it, what I had to share for this lesson, the difference between CPM, CAPP, CACP, CLTD, what area of domain they cover in supply chain, and how should you be, on what basis you'll be taking decision for choosing the right certification. Thank you and have a great day ahead.
Hello everyone. In this video, we'll be discussing what is the right time for appearing for CPM exam. So many of my network or friends, they reach out to me asking, when is the right time? Is it before becoming the manager? Is it right out of the college? Or is it as early as possible? So in this video, we'll be addressing those queries. So as per me, when is the best time? The best time, if you ask me, is when you are into the college, especially when you're doing an MBA in supply chain or MBA in general management, because there's a certain part of syllabus, and and if you are doing MBA in supply chain, a lot of syllabus overlaps with CPM certification, so you don't have to reread it when you are appearing for CPM certification. So that saves a lot of time. Second benefit is, in the college, there are a lot of third party institutes who want to promote their CPM certification. Third party institutes who give training for clearing the CPM certification, they um, they give certain percentage of discount for the students, and even I think APICS has for certain universities uh, some discount for the students. These are the two benefits. Saves times of rereading the syllabus, and secondly, there is you have a monetary benefit as well. And in the second case, if you are not an MBA, you don't have a background supply chain in terms of education, the right time would be after 2-3 years into the industry, when you have spent minimum 2 years into supply chain. This is the one of the mistake which I did. I started appearing for the exam only after spending 1 year in supply chain. So what happens after that, when you have spent only very less time and you don't have either educational background in supply chain, there is a lot of content to digest, there is a lot of content to assimilate, to learn. So after completing of certifications, nothing much stays with you or sticks with you. So it's a lot to digest, to hold, to have the grasp. So you may sometimes clear the exam also, but it doesn't stay with you for long. On the other hand, if you have spent 2-3 years, you have basic understanding of supply chain, it adds a lot of value. It's like cherry on the cake. So that's my second suggestion if you're not from a supply chain education background. Third thing is,
Third point or third best time for appearing for the CPM exam is before becoming the manager. So the CPM exam has a lot of managerial skills, tools which you help you to become a good manager in supply chain. And last but not the least, so you can always, when you're confused when to appear for the CPM exam, you can always start studying the CPM study material as early as possible, because that is anyway going to help you in your daily work, and you can schedule your exam whenever the right time comes, when you are comfortable, and you can go for it. So that's it from my side about the right time for appearing for CPM exam. Thank you. Hello everyone, welcome to the course again. In this video, we'll be discussing specifically on which app to use for the quiz practices. In the previous video, as I mentioned, that appearing for the quizzes or the practice exam is very important for you to be successfully clearing this exam. So in this video, we'll be discussing which app to use for the quiz preparation. So there are majorly two apps or two ways in which the candidates have confusion. One is learning system, which is by APICS, and second one is Pocket Prep. So which one to use? So in my preparation, I have used both of them. So I'll be sharing my experience of using both of them, and on the basis of which you decide whether you want to go for learning system, Pocket Prep, or both of them. So let's get started. So let's start with learning system, which is of APICS themselves giving. So the quizzes, when you go to APICS learning system quizzes, you'll find they are more difficult compared to the actual exams. So when I was preparing for my CPM part 1, I was consistently scoring 50%, 60%, and I was quite demotivated that the actual exam needs 80% of the scoring. But when I went for the exam, and I found out the questions were really easy compared to the quizzes which were there in learning systems. So if you are having already purchased learning system and you are preparing for CPA exam, especially for the part 1, I can with my closed eyes say that the level of questions in the exams will be less difficult compared to what they are there in the learning system itself. So don't be demotivated. Scoring 60%, 50-60% would be enough, and you would be able to, if you have prepared properly, you would be able to score more than 80% in the real simulation, real exam, real CPM, not in practice. Most similar questions from Pocket Prep. Yeah. So when I appeared for the exams, I found out more direct questions or the similar level of questions, not direct questions from Pocket Prep, but similar questions or from the similar types of questions would come from Pocket Prep, even for part 1 and part 2 as well. Not much of the questions were there from learning system. That was one of the experiences which I had in my part 1, part 2 both. So if you have only learning system, and if you feel you are underconfident about the exam, so I'll suggest you to go for Pocket Prep app as well. So as I mentioned, learning system, there are not many questions which are coming from learning system or similar. So many questions in the sense, I mean that not similar type of question or direct questions coming from learning system you will find in the exam. So they say that if you score 80% in learning system quizzes, you are ready for the exam. So I'm little doubtful. The APICS themselves claim, or many candidates who have passed out, they say once you score 80% in the learning system, you are ready to give for the exam, and you can consider yourself prepared for the exam. But I'll a little disagree on this point, because the types of question, the level of difficulty, the asked in the quizzes and the real exam, they vary too much. So this statement is uh, not much valid as per my experience. So don't fall for this, that if you have scored 80% in learning system, then you are ready for the real exam. Also, you'll find that in learning system there are questions not framed so much properly. There are grammatical errors sometime, at least in my time I had it. Not sure if they have updated by now, but yeah, there were questions were not framed so much properly in the learning system, and that thing you won't find in the pocket prep. The pocket prep, the questions were are framed very properly, and even in in the real exam, the questions are a bit sometimes framed in a complex way, which makes it difficult to understand. So that's good in a way, but uh, pocket prep is always good, as it has most similar type of question uh, compared to the learning system. So this was my experience of both the app. If you have enough money, I'll suggest you go for both learning system and pocket prep. It's both have their plus point and plus and minus point. Thank you. That's it for this video. Hello everyone, welcome to the course again. Hopefully you're having good time. So far you know the rough background of the course, how much is the passing ratio, how much difficult it is, what are the exam details, the course syllabus, or whether you are the right person to go for this certification or not. So once you know all these things, now we are getting into how we should prepare for the exam. So let us discuss what are the right strategies, the strategies which I used and which I have seen many other using in their preparation and which have given them a very fruitful result. So I'll be discussing one by one all of them. So please very carefully make note of these strategies, because these are going to save you a lot of time, energy, and would make your preparation very productive and very effective. So let us start. So first is the 60-20-20 rule. So this is basically the distribution which I had in my preparation. So suppose you have 100 hours at your disposal for the preparation, then in that 100 hours, 60 hours you should spend in reading or going through the content of CPIM. Next 20 hours you should spend in revising that content, and next 20 hours you should spend in giving the quizzes or the practice exam. So that should be the basic split. So 60% of the time you give in going through the content, 20% of the time then you revise it, 20% of the time you give the quizzes. This is very important. This distribution is very important, because what happens, suppose you are giving 100% time in your reading, you go to the exam, you are not remembering everything because you have not done the revision. If on the other way, if you are spending time in reading, revising, but you have not done enough practice quizzes, are very, the practice exams is a very important part, because in the exam there will be multiple choice questions, there will be quizzes, there won't be direct questions coming. So unless you have practiced or have the habit of thinking in a way of solving things, it won't be helpful, or you won't be that much efficient in while giving the exam. So quizzes also happens to be a very important part of your preparation. So what I'll suggest, that you spend 60% time in reading, 20% revising, 20% quizzing. So as you can see on the screen that I have done star mark on the quizzing. So let me just explain you how you should go for the quiz. So many students, they do a big blunder when giving quizzes. Suppose they have an app, or many of them prepare quizzes through learning system or pocket web or data camp. There are various quizzes available. So when they practice, they suppose there are 10 quizzes in their app or in the portal which they have applied for. So they appear for quiz 1 and they give quiz 1 10 times. So after, what happens, after certain point of time, they have memorized the question and the answers as well. So they are they start scoring good in the quizzes. But the catch here is they have not developed the thinking ability. Our motto is to develop the ability to think on the spot with the content what we have read or the knowledge what we have. So please don't fall for this trap and give the quiz again and again. If we have 10 quizzes, give quiz 1, 2, 3, 4, and have don't just keep on repeating one quiz again and again till the time you memorize it. That's not the way. Have some gap in giving the same quiz again, so that you have not memorized it. So your motto, your aim should be clear, that you need to develop that ability to think. Don't fall for this of getting good score in the quizzes by repeating the same quiz again and again. Give different quizzes and repeat the same quiz after some time, when by the time you don't remember that quiz. I hope I'm clear on this. Going to the next point, which is making short notes. So the content of the CPIM is huge. There's huge content, and just before the exam, when you sit, if you don't have short notes, you don't have time to go through all the complete book to study. So it's always good to have to make short notes, so that it's easier for you to revise. It saves a lot of time. So making short notes or highlighting it in the book is going to save a lot of energy for you. Write down the formulas. Yeah, formulas are also very important in the exams. There are direct questions coming from the formula, from the formulas. So write the formulas, which variable means what. Understanding each and everything is very important. Next is use of flashcards. So flashcard is one of the very effective way of revising. So this Pocket Prep or learning system, or most of the apps which gives support for preparation of CPM exam, will have this flashcard facilities. So please avail that facility. Use it whenever you're free, moving around, have some free time. Just go through the flashcards, and that will help you to do revision quickly. APICS dictionary. So this is also another way of revising things and uh, going through the terminology. So a lot of questions in CPM will be based on the terminologies. If you don't know the exact definition of a particular supply chain term or terminology, you will have tough time solving the uh, exam question. So please spend a good amount of time here also on APICS dictionary. You can find this on the Play Store or Google as well. Not much difficult to get it. Targeting 90% of the syllabus minimum. Yeah, so when you're preparing, so don't skip many of the content even if you are not good at it. Try to cover up 90% of the syllabus, because the passing marks is 80%. You should have some of a minimum 90% of the syllabus you need to be thorough with. Don't skip much of the content here. Join a study group. So it's very important, since it's uh, a big crunch of time, a big amount of uh, number of days this preparation is going to take, 1.5 year, 2 years, to be motivated for such a long amount of time. It's not a very easy task. So it's always suggested that you start preparing. Whenever you start preparing, you join a study group. There are a lot of study group. If you just go through on Facebook, move here, there on LinkedIn, you will find a lot of study groups. Join them, stay motivated. Preparing alone, it's going to be really difficult, because the preparation time is big. It's 1 to 2 years. So this is also a very important aspect of the right strategy. So how many times you should read the content? So I'll suggest going through the complete study material 2 times in depth. In depth means you understand each and everything, solve all the quizzes in the study material. So that should be done at least twice. And last is the revision. How many times you should revise? Revise 2 to 3 times before appearing the exam. And especially whenever you give quizzes, whenever you're giving quizzes, so you note it down which area or which section of the book you are getting the low score. So write it down. So revising those sections becomes all the more important. And when I say revising 2 3 times, so here you don't need to go through in depth and each and everything. Just rush through the books or your short notes, just go through them, and that should be sufficient. So plan your preparation time on that. Suppose you are going to give 1 year for part 1, so you need to, for in first 9 months, you plan for completing the study materials twice in depth, and 3 months before I'll start revising. Spend some time for revision and quizzes as well. So thank you, that's it I had for this right strategy. Have a nice day. Hello everyone, welcome back to this course again. In this particular video, we will be discussing whether one has to go for instructor based program to clear the CPM certification, or one can clear it by the self-study method as well. So let's get started. So talking about my personal experience, I did CPM certification with self-study. Only thing is, with self-study, you need to do more, you need to put more efforts in understanding things. When you don't understand, you have to go to Google, read some other books, reach out to some seniors. When things get, the course get very tricky, complex, and you're not able to understand it, at that time self-study method is little bit uh, more time consuming, I would say. But on the other hand, there are some benefits of self-study, that you save a lot of money, because the instructor-based program, they are charging a good premium on it, and you won't be able to save that much money. On the other hand, if you feel that you're not that much disciplined enough to take this 1 or 2 years of commitment for clearing the exams, I'll suggest you go for instructor-based training programs. Secondly, if you find the content is too difficult for you to digest, assimilate, understand, and if you are a professional from some other field, some other domain, trying to switch to supply chain, in that case also I'll recommend that you should go for instructor based program. Instructor based program is going to save a lot of time, energy for you, and it is going to does add a lot of value. But again, it comes with a cost, and if you have enough time, energy, and money with you, instructor based program is always going to be fruitful. Thank you, and have a nice day ahead. Hello everyone, I hope you're having good time with this course. In this video we'll be discussing about how much time I need to prepare for this course. So accordingly you can take the commitment for the preparation of the exam, and you can plan your things out in your career. So let's just get into it. Time needed to prepare. So there is no exact formula or exact number of days or hours which I can tell. It's quite subjective how much time it takes to clear this exam. So I've seen people clearing it within 3 months, who are really expert into this domain of supply chain field, who have been there in supply chain for quite some years, who know this process of certification and out, and they are clearing it within 2-3 months. Not just CPIM but CACP and CLTD as well. But some things we'll discuss in next few minutes. Will give you a rough idea how much time it going to take for you, and at the end I'll give you some tips which is going to help you to prepare for this exam. Okay, so how much time it takes on average? On average it takes 1 to 2 years. If you are really good and very familiar with the content of this CPM, it will take 1 year. So 1 year means it's for both part 1 and part 2. So within 1 to 2 years on an average you can consider that it will take for you to prepare the exam. Now while scheduling the exam, you have to keep in mind that part 2, as I mentioned before, that its content is almost 60 to 70% more, or almost double. And if you consider the depth or the quality or the complexity of part 2, it is almost going to take double time. So preferably you have more number of months, if you are plan more number of months for part 2. So if you are planning to complete the exam in an year, so you should plan 5 months for part 1 and remaining 7 months for part 2, or something like that, in same proportion. This is a very important consideration while scheduling the exam. Now to give you a brief idea how much time it took for me. So how much time any candidate will take, it depends a lot on how much he or she has experience in supply chain, and how much is the familiarity with the theoretical aspects of supply chain, in terms of what's there in CPIM exam. So for me, I didn't have any past experience going into any B school or MBA. I'm B mechanical engineer, so I didn't have anything related to supply chain in my college days. Whatever I have learned in was on-job experience. So after 2 years of experience in industry, out of which 1 year I was a trainee and one into supply chain, after that it took me 15 months to clear the exams, in which I used to spend 1 hour daily with my uh, daily uh, job routine, and on the weekends, on Saturday Sunday, I would spend more time, which is 4 hours on weekend. So that was my rough schedule. And during just before the exam, I would take 1 week off to prepare for the exam. Part 2 was so difficult that it took more than it, almost 10 days leaves to clear the part 2. So how do you judge for yourself? So before scheduling the exam, you should get the material for yourself, the hard copy, roughly go through it, and take a rough estimate that how much time it will take for you to prepare or to cover up the 90% of the syllabus thoroughly. So when I say 90%, why I'm saying like that? Because the passing percentage of the exam is 80%. So you need to have some buffer, 90%, 10% here and there, because not everything you read you're going to remember, and whatever it's not, whatever you remember you do it right, because not all the questions are on memory based. In part 2 most of them you'll find on application based. The other thing, and a certain percentage like 1-2% of questions you'll find which is out of syllabus, which is not in the content. So you should have 10% of buffer. So ideal way of judging how much time it will take for you to prepare is take the syllabus, take the books in your hand, and see what you know already know, roughly go through it, and how much time is going to take you to uh, prepare properly for the 90% of the syllabus. Accordingly you can plan for yourself. That's it for this video. Thank you very much. Hello everyone, welcome to the course again. Hopefully having a good learning time and your confidence to clear the CPM certification is increasing by every video lecture you attend in this course. In this particular video, we'll be discussing, is APICS bundle the study material given for CPM certification by APICS, is it enough for me? So let's get started. First thing, the question comes, is it necessary to have APICS CPM bundle for preparation, or APICS CPM study material provided by them? Yes, it is very much important. Some of the students, they try to avoid to reduce the cost, or to avoid the cost for purchasing study material, and they try to study on your own, but that makes things a little bit difficult, because majority of the questions, they do come from the APICS study material, or the study material provided by the APICS. So it's very much necessary. I highly recommend all of you to have the latest updated uh, the course, the study material with you. There are the older versions as well, but that is again little bit risky, so don't fall for it. Buy a latest updated one. Second question, is it sufficient enough? Yes, it is sufficient enough to just have uh, the APICS study material. You will get all the questions from it. You don't need to see anywhere else, go to um, any other books or any other resources. At the same time, it is also suggested, uh, if you have more time and energy available with you, you can read this book, Introduction to Materials Management. Or if sometimes you get confused with the language used in the study material of APICS, you can always go through Introduction to Material Management. Introduction to Material Management, as per my experience, had good explanation of numerical problems. So that's one more suggestion from my side for the uh, numerical sections. The previous video lectures where I have mentioned important numerical based topics, please pick them up and go to Introduction to Material Management. See the examples how they are solving it, and that is going to really help you for your exam preparation. Having said this, let me also make this clear. There are certain percentage, like 2 to 3% of questions which you'll find which are not there from APICS study material, and we don't know from where they're coming. They are just random supply chain based question. So it totally depends how much knowledge you have got in your career of supply chain. So I think that's it what I had for this.
Hi there to all the CPM aspirants. I'm adding an additional video. So just yesterday I found out my study plan, last 15-day study plan. I was just going through my CPM notes, and in there I found out that. So I thought of adding that lesson as well, which would be helpful to all the aspirants who want to crack CPM in the first attempt. So let me just take you to my study plan and show you how it was helpful. Just getting my highlighter, laser point, yeah. So here I have my study plan for last 15 days. So this is how you need to plan your last lap of the marathon or the last stage of your preparation. So it can be 1 month, 15 days, 20, 25 days. You can decide as per your strategy. So this is what I had. I gave in Jan 2020. This is part 1 plan. Similarly, I had for part 2 as well. So what I did, just 15 days before, I gave quiz for all the lessons, and I noted scores for all of them. So maybe it's not visible here. If I zoom it a bit, yeah, in the next slide you have it. Yeah, here it is. For all the sections, I noted all my quiz score, how much I'm scoring for a particular topic, and noted down. Like this I did for the whole syllabus, and then I highlighted those where I'm scoring less, like this one, like section M, physical distribution. This is something logistics. I was little bad in logistics, so here I was scoring 59%. So like that I highlighted, and even while giving the quizzes, I also noted down the sections where I need to work upon. So I was writing them down, and yeah, so like this I was going quizzes periodically in different uh, time periods, and noting the areas where I'm supposed to improve. Here you see I have also written where I need to, you know, 3 days before I need to revise all the formulas. And I see this is 16 January is the exam date. For 15th I didn't kept anything. I just wanted to go into the exam with a fresh mind. And yeah, and in last 2 days, if you see 13 and 14, I have kind of given all the quizzes. So I was just keeping a note so that I don't miss anything, any chapter for giving quizzes, or I may assume that I'm good at in certain chapters, because the syllabus is huge and certain syllabus overlaps as well. You may think you are going good in somewhere. So an organized, structured attempt is always good, at least for in last uh, few weeks when you have at your disposal. So have a study plan. So same study plan you can have it for, or I had it for the whole year. I planned which section, like a Gantt chart, like for 5 6 months of plan I had for all the lessons. Like this many lessons I complete in these many days, then next in these many days, next in these many months. So I had a full Gantt chart plan for all of them. Then I was knowing that how much ahead I was in terms of my preparation, how much I am lagging. So that way it was better. How much buffer I need to keep. So that way it was good. So not just for last 15 days. I recommend that you have it for full uh, full study preparation period what you have, not for the last one, the revision period, or the last lap of the marathon, which I call it. You should have it for the full study period. I didn't somehow I have lost that copy of study plan, but yeah, this can be something similar. You need to have all the topics listed down. When you're starting, you're making your study plan, you can have all the topics listed down, give a preliminary quiz, understand where you're good, where you're bad. Like when I gave my preliminary quiz, I knew that I'm bad at logistics, I need to give more time there. So like that you can, when you're planning your uh, study plan, you can give more times to your weaker section, then have some buffer, more revision time as well. So in one of the lessons I have stressed a lot on revision. So you can have like 3 days for studying, then 1 day for revision, 3 days for studying, 1 day for revision, for some days for quiz as well. So like that. So the main point is to have a structured approach, because the syllabus is huge and the error for margin is very less. 80% is the passing score, and you can't miss upon uh, on even the small portion, or assuming you are good at something but you're not. So um, practice properly. What wherever you are uh, weak, revise that again. Practice those section. That's the key for the success, and that's the key for the study plan as well. So here is a closer view for the study plan. What I had it, I noted all the topics, days, and here I have marked even the scores as well. So how I'm performing. Like for 1st Jan I had 77% score, but on 5th Jan I'm scoring 73%. So if you see one more important thing in my plan, that I'm not giving quizzes um, in consecutive days. Like suppose I have given a quiz for section E on 1st Jan, then I'm again giving the same quiz on 5th Jan. There is 3 days gap. The reason, the reason for it is very important, so that I don't end up memorizing the questions and answers for it. I don't actually get into solving it or develop that ability to solve it, because in actual exam the question is going to be different, and um, we need to learn that skill of on the spot coming to the answer based upon the concepts, the knowledge what we have gained in the study material. So never plan your quiz practices in consecutive days. Have some gaps in between so that you have forgotten the questions, but with the help of the concept you can answer them. So whenever you're planning your quiz practices, please plan in a way that there are gaps in between the same quizzes, so that you understand. Yeah, you're not scoring well just because you have memorized the questions. So had it been taking the section E again, had it been I have given um, the same quiz on the 2nd January, so I would have scored preferably 85%, 90%. Why? Because I have memorized the answers. But that's that then you rule out such pitfalls, such mistakes, by splitting, by having some the time in between the quizzes. Also have marked weekends as well, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, where I used to give more quizzes. So like that you can plan. Um, Plan a Gantt chart, calculate number of days, list down your topics, list down how much you're scoring, practice more for your weaker sections. That's what's I had it for this session in a nutshell. Thank you and all the best again.
Digital calculator. So most of the time this question comes into the mind of the candidates. Can I take my calci or calculator with me during the exam, right? Because we have numerical questions as well in the exam coming up, which we need to solve them, and which can't be solved because there is sometimes square root or mean. For that we need a calculator. So can we take our calculator to the examination center? That's the first question. So the answer is a big no. In your exam you won't be allowed to take anything inside. So there would be, before the examination starts, they will properly check you in and out, and you won't be even allowed to take a rough paper or a pencil, anything to solve it or anything. Nothing doing. uh, you cannot take anything inside. They'll give you a pen or a scratch pad, maybe to solve or make notes while giving the exam. And forget about the calculator, it's no question. You have to drop everything at the entrance of the examination center. So make sure you don't carry much things, right, except your IDs, your form, and maybe phone or something. Rest things, just carry basic things, and other things won't be allowed. Now talking about this calculator, generally when we practice at our home for examination, we are habituated to use of the physical calculator, right? And we are used to it. But when you're into the examination center, you won't have that. They will give you a digital calculator, a calculator which will be there right side top of the screen, somewhere like this here. And you need to use your mouse to solve it. Now what happens, you are not used to it, and suddenly in the examination center you go and you say this digital calculator. If you're not used to it, you will take a lot of more time for it. And if not in part 1, in part 2 at least, the time crunch is the big issue. You have very limited time to solve the questions. Saving time is very important. So I'll suggest all the students who are part of this course to practice with that digital calculator when you are solving the numericals or problem solving questions.
So where you can practice, here I have a similar um, similar calculator in which you can practice. Here it is. So you can just go to the Google and you can type this TC Cyan calculator, and you will come here with a digital calculator. So in here you can practice. So generally you won't be able to use keyboard in your exam. um, you can use, but preferably for this calculator I'll suggest you uh, you get used to these keys. You use 9, 8 and divided by 2. How do you use this scientific calculator to sometimes maybe to take a log or take a square root. So these are very important for you to get used to it, and once you are habituated, practice how you can delete, then you are good to go. So it's very important part. So you may feel this is a very not so important part. Why I'm adding this as a lesson? Why is it actually needed to practice on digital calculator? Yeah, it's very important. Let me tell you why. Since the exam is very competitive and very difficult, because the margin for error is very less. So margin for error is like 80% is the passing mark, out of which 3-4% of the questions are out of syllabus. So you only have 10 to 15% of margin at your hand. And if you lose some question which you could have solved, but you are not used to a digital calculator, and you slow down, uh, you get nervous, you take more time, so the margin is very less, so we can't afford to lose upon anything. So whatever things we can prepare beforehand in the exam, it's always good to prepare for them. Leave no stones unturned. Prepare for everything possible. So this is my suggestion. So even if you solve 10-15 problems with digital calculator, that would give you enough confidence that in the exam you'll be able to use this digital calculator without any problem. That's it for this lesson. Thank you and all the best for the exam.
Biggest mistakes while preparing for CPIM. So in this lesson, I'll be talking about top 3 mistakes which I feel students do, which I have seen my colleagues or friends appearing for CPM doing. So these mistakes I have spoken about them in other lectures as well in the course, but I thought I'll bring out a separate lesson to extensively talk about this, exclusively talk about this, so that all the candidates are aware of them and they don't fall into these mistakes. So let us start discussing about them one by one. First is not doing enough revisions. So this is one of the biggest mistakes which candidates do while preparing for CPM. So when you read, what happens when you read once through um, the content, you get a feel that you know things, or since some of the content is overlapping with your work, or sometimes in your postgraduate study you have read it. So you have that notion in your mind of that placebo effect kind of thing, that you know things, but just knowing things is not enough. Because the exam things are, the questions are framed in a way where you need to apply the concepts what you have learned, and just knowing things is not enough. You need to be a step ahead with just above knowing things. You should be well versed things, you should be crystal clear with things, you should precisely know the concept, and when the question comes in front of you, you are able to think of, recall the concept and apply it in a right way and solve the questions. So, so don't just rush through the content once and directly come for the exam. That would be the biggest mistake which you can do. You may think that you know things, but you may not know it precisely, or you don't know it end to end, right? Sometimes you know the concept, but how to apply it you don't know it. You don't know the formula, you don't know exception of the formula. Okay, in this case, this is how this formula is supposed to be used. So that's what I'm talking about. Know things end to end. So unless you do revisions, because content is very big, unless you do enough revisions of the content, and you're not thorough with the concept, it's very difficult in the exam to sit and see the question, and in a short period of time, in a limited period of time, to come up with the answer and solve it. The revision is very important. So if you ask me how much revision is required, there is a first end-to-end detailed study of the study material. After that, you need to give at least two revisions, and there should be a third revision which is the only for the content which you are still facing the difficulty with while solving the quizzes. So that's the third. Two to two to three revisions is must for the content. And part two, CPM part two, it's the volume is huge, so you need to plan your revision very strategically. You need to take out a separate time for the revisions. So revision of the full content, 2 to 3 times, very important. And yeah, just before the exam, just 10 days before the exam, you should have one revision. So this is roughly how much revision you should have depending upon the memory of a person. This is these numbers which I'm quoting, it's what I did. And if you are more sharper, or you think you need more revisions, you can uh, tweak those numbers. You can do more or less revision as per your need. That's the first point, having enough revision. Don't fall for the placebo effect. Oh, I know things, and just reach the examination center doing la la la, and when you are the question comes, you think, oh, I just knew this 80% of the concept, 20% of the thing I'm forgetting. That shouldn't be happening, right? So again, I'm repeating this. The exam, or I repeat this quite often in my lectures, the margin for error for CPM exam is very less. You have to score 80% for passing. You only have 20% of the margin with you, and that 3 4% of 3 4% of the questions will be out of syllabus, which you have not seen before in the content. So only have 15 to 16% of margin for error for yourself. So uh, don't get loose in any of the ends. Okay, this was the first point, doing the enough revisions. Now let me talk about the second point, which is not solving the enough practice quizzes. Okay, these are the second set of candidates who do a lot of revision, who go through the content end to end. They have memorized the definition, formulas, anything like that, but they have not solved enough practice quizzes. That's their problem. Now what happens when you haven't done enough quizzes and you have only gone through the content? Your brain, or you are not habituated or practiced or trained to solve questions. So going through the content is one thing, which is getting equipped with the knowledge. And after seeing the question, to develop that habit of that, to have that thinking ability to use that knowledge and solve questions. Yeah? Using that knowledge and solving the questions, that thinking ability, doesn't generate overnight. You need to have practice, and then you practice the questions. You get an idea what types of questions are asked. These types of questions has to be solved in this way. So these can be the tricky questions that can be asked. So all those learning happens when you solve the quizzes. And when not enough quizzes are solved, that practice is not there. When you directly come for the exam, you take more time to solve the questions. Yeah. So this happened with me. uh, this happened with me. There were certain sections of the content for which I didn't do enough practice of the quizzes, and I find real difficult to solve those questions in the exam. So this may not happen sometimes for the full content, but there can be certain content for which will be lazy. But sometimes, since it's a CPIM, no, see, it's planning and inventory management. So most of the planners come are the potential candidates for this CVM exam, and when they have uh, chapters based on finance or logistics, or some managerial stuff, the people go lazy and they don't solve enough questions. So I was one of it. Logistics was very boring for me, so I didn't solve enough questions. And when exams actually, in exam when actually the question came, it was real tough for me to solve it. So the point which I'm trying to make here is, there is the first thing, which is revision, getting hold of the content. Second step is to develop that ability, thinking ability, to on the spot after seeing the question, use that knowledge, solve the question exactly or the way what is asked in the question. Yeah, you won't be having direct questions like, oh, tell me the definition of kaizen, oh, what is Aizunka. No, no, you won't get that direct questions. There would be hardly 30% of the question which you can directly, based upon your knowledge, you can solve them. Majority of the questions, 70-80% of the questions will be, you have to use the knowledge and apply it. Yeah, especially in part 2 you'll find a lot of application based question. Direct knowledge based question will be very less. So solving quizzes is very important. Yeah, so that's the second biggest mistake which candidates do. Now let me talk about the third biggest mistake. Wrong approach of solving practice quizzes. So here it is, this should be practice quizzes, which I missed. Let me just add. Yeah. Wrong approach to solving the practice quizzes. This is the third biggest mistake which any candidate does. So what is the right approach when you're solving the quizzes? So many times what happens, you have a question bank, may I say it from pocket prep or learning system, and you solve those quizzes again and again. Now what happens after one point, you have memorized the questions and you know the answer. And since you have memorized the questions and answers as well, because first time when you attempted, you got low score, and you see, oh, what's the right answer, okay, this is the right answer. And after 2-3 times you have memorized it, right? And you're scoring good, you're getting good scores. Now you're getting 90-95%, and you're very happy, okay, I'm going to clear the exam. And when you go and give the actual exam, you're not able to solve questions there, because questions don't get repeated, and you have not developed that ability to think. We are here talking about developing that thinking ability, about applying the concepts, applying the knowledge which you have read in the course material, study material. So that is the thing we need to develop. This exam is not a memory based exam, it's an application, it's application of concepts and knowledge. So unless you develop that, you are not going to go through it, you're not going to make it in the exam, you won't pass it. So this is the third biggest mistake. Don't solve the same quiz again and again. What will happen eventually, you will end up memorizing the questions and answers as well, and when you go into the exam, same question won't come and you fail miserably. So what is the best way you solve, since sometimes there are limited questions, so what you can do, so today you are solving quiz for chapter 1, and again you solve the quiz for chapter 1 after 10 days. Give it a gap so that you don't end up memorizing it. So when you are solving it, you're solving as if, okay, this is the question which I'm seeing first time, and you solve it, you think. Don't solve same quiz again and again. Okay, today, tomorrow, 3 days I'll be solving chapter 1 quizzes. By the end of third day, you have already memorized the quiz. So that mistake you should never be doing, solving the same quiz again and again, ending up memorizing it, and it's just a memory exercise. It's not a solving exercise. So your more focus should be solving the quizzes, applying the concept which you have already. Develop that ability to think based upon the course content which you have read. So this is it, the top 3 mistakes which I feel the students who have enrolled to my course shouldn't be doing it. And if you have the right approach which I talked in the other lessons, and if you avoid this pitfalls, avoid these mistakes, in your exam, uh, you can you can clear it in the first attempt itself. So I'm making a cross mark here so that you don't do these mistakes. These has to be avoided totally. Thank you. All the best for your preparation. Have a great day ahead.
Hi there. We are discussing mistakes to be avoided while preparing for CPIM exam. Mistakes. So this is the second lesson where we're talking about mistakes, and this would be a very important one. And the mistake is to not doing enough revision. Let me write it in the caps. Not doing enough revisions. So what happens since CPM has a very voluminous syllabus, huge volume we have, and like as of now, what part 1, part 2, this has one book, and this has two books, first, and there is a second book also. And when you're preparing, it takes probably for, if you go by part 1 CPM part 1, if you take, it takes almost on an average for any students, not 10 to 12 months for an average students to prepare for this, and average aspirant to prepare. Some may do it probably in 5-6 months as well. I took roughly 8 months, but yeah, on an average it takes 10 to 12 months for a very new student who doesn't have much background of supply chain. 10 to 12 months to prepare for part 1. Now suppose you start preparing in January, that is Feb, then March, April, May, June, July, and you are somewhere around December, right? And you have read something here in January, right? Suppose chapter 1 you have read here now, and you haven't done any revision, chapter 1 or section 1. You haven't done any revision of this till the time December comes, right? You have read one second chapter here, third year, fourth, and by the time you have run, suppose you have completed 20 chapters, right? Till the time you are here. Now, um, since when you will be in December, you have almost forgotten, or we have that feeling that okay, I know it to some extent, we know it in a subtle way, we know that okay, we know this, but we have lost a good hold on that. So when I say good hold, I mean ability to remember it during the exam, um, in detail, precisely the formulas, the exact definitions, and to solve the problems basis on that. So since this exam is just having such a huge duration, you see around 10 to 8 months, so what you have read here at the initial point, you may not be able to remember it here. Yeah. So this is the mistake which I did, and I learned this in a very hard way, to not having enough slots for revisions. So generally we read, and we read more, and then we forget, right? We just focus on reading, 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 or at max we get tips. So no, we should, along with reading, we should also do quizzing. Yeah. So quiz does help indirectly in revising, but doesn't revise everything. It just only only the sections or the topics on which you are getting questions, those area will be getting revised. Not everything would be getting revised. So I have a way to explain you how revision is, really helpful. So here are two ways where one has a tracked revision. This is what is recommended. Recommended, or which I followed. This is recommended, and this is unplanned way, unplanned revision, second one. So we'll see what is the difference, how it an organized or tracked revision helps one preparing well. So you see we have some days planned. So first day I read it, I have a planned revision on third day, and then I have a planned revision on 15th day, then after 30th and 40th. So you see, initially I have planned the revision in 2 days, then there is a gap of 12 days between 3rd to 15, then there is 15 days, right? So there's some organized pattern is there, and here it's just random after 15 days. So first gap is very big, it's 15 days, second gap is again 15 days and 15 days, and it's just 15, 15, 15. Hmm? So here also the number of days, it's less, it's 40 days, and here it's 60 days. But here if you see, it's a very important concept uh, in revision or in revision techniques. Very important concept is there. It's called memory. Memory is like a baby. It's very important. Memory is like a baby. So initially you need to give it a very good care. If you get a good care, it becomes eventually healthy, then you don't have to work upon it. But suppose initially you don't give much effort on the baby, then baby eventually becomes diseased or is weak, then you need to give a lot of time and effort later on. Same way, if you see in the track revision, after first study we are again sitting to revise it in just after 2 days, then we are sitting to do a revision after 12 days, then 15. So initially there is more effort, like you have to sit in 2 days, 12 days, yeah, then after 15 days. But what you see when you do such type of revision, your memory initially, which was very low because you have just studied it first time, right? But when you do it on third day, it's become low, and 15th day it's a good memory, on 30th day it's a very good memory, and 40th day you have perfectly memorized it. And not just that, there is another benefit. So there is a benefit for memory, yeah, there is a benefit that you eventually end up doing what, memorization, which is not happening in the random revision, because you have studied it first time, then if you are studying it after 15 days, so after 15 days you have almost anyway forgotten, you haven't remember anything, yeah. So even after 15, after reading first day, then you're coming it back on to it on 50th day, it's almost like a first revision. So memory doesn't improve much, yeah. So it's very low, very good. So it takes a lot of time. See, even after 60 days, the stats shows that it's a very good memory. But here in within 40 days, we have reached on a perfectly staged memory. So on memory, again we are on negative. Yeah, it's totally negative. It's not good to have a random revision. There is one more benefit, which is time required to revise. So when you revise frequently on initial days, 1, 3, so within 15 days we have already revised it twice. But here on 15th day, it's the first revision. So you see, as you initially you need frequent revisions, then you can go normal. And as you are going down, if you see, if you are, as you are going down, the time required is getting reduced, right? Here 15 minutes are reduced. Here 40 minutes are 15 minutes. In just 5 minutes you can revise the whole thing. You have gained such a good memory level, you don't need much efforts to revise it, right? But on the other hand, if you see, in an unplanned random revision, what is happening, you initially giving 60, 50, 40, the time required is more. So here on a tracked revision, right, on tracked revision method, your memory is improved, plus your number of time you spend is also decreased. So this is very important. So when you have a tracked revision, right, you have memorized it, and and eventually you need a less time. So if you have seen my other videos, I also talk about, just before the exam it's important to have 2 3 revisions. So if you haven't done a tracked revision methodology, you haven't followed it, so just before the exam when you're sitting, 1 2 weeks before, you need to give at least 1 2 revisions. And if you haven't revised before that, it will take again the same amount of time. You have spent 1 year, and again your revision is demanding at least 7 months, but you don't have that much time, and you need to give 2 3 revisions, or 2 revision at least before the exam, 15 days or 1 month before the exam. So it's very important. So how you can plan, it's very easy. So you can have sections like chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3, 4, 5. So you can have a chart like this where you have mentioned first, okay, first study when you are planning, right? First study when you want to plan. So I'm just learning with this new writing pad, so you will find me doing some mistakes. Please bear with it. Okay, yeah. So you have first study column here, then you have a revision column. Can be revision 1, 2 and 3. Hmm? So suppose you studied um, chapter 1 in January, right? In January you planned in with, okay, I'll study chapter 1 in January. Then you can have revision 1 on 15th Jan, then or maybe 5th Jan. Yeah, 5th Jan you can plan the first revision, right? And then maybe on 10th and 20th Jan. So this way you can plan your revisions, right? So Jan, then again you have this you have planned Feb, then again 5th Feb, 10th Feb and 20th Feb. This way you can have. Then um, you can have if you then third, then you can have a full month when once you have complete good number of syllabus, like after 5th, okay, then 5, then Feb, March, April, May. So June first week. June first week is only for revision. First week of revision what I have read from Jan to Feb. It's just for revisions, and you do revision here and revisions plus quizzes. Okay. So all I want to say, you need to have a tracked, very important, a tracked revision, not random revision. Okay, this will uh, save you from a lot of uh, efforts. You will save a lot of efforts. You will save a lot of time, as we saw, right? Where we saw, as we saw here, we saw that what the time is 140. Here time is required 200, right? You will save time. You'll have good hold on the syllabus. Yeah, good hold on the syllabus. These are the very important factors. So you should uh, actually plan a good revision strategy for yourself and not commit these mistakes. Yeah, which I have, which I did, which many do, and you learn just by this lesson, that you need to have a structured, organized way of revising the content. Thank you and have a nice day.
Hello everyone. In this lesson, we'll be talking about a very vital question, which is why I am not able to get CPM certification, or why anyone fails. There can be n number of reasons, and I'll be speaking about the most prominent one and most important one, which I generally see. So I meet very different people, colleagues in my office, who come to me, hey Akshay, I also want to get CPM certified. They show their interest and they want to get certified. But I find one common reason, which many of them have, why they are not able to complete the CPM certification or pass the CPM certification. And I'll be putting that reason in just one word in front of all of you. And let me know if you are also falling into that category. So this is the reason. Is postponement or postponing. Yeah. So this is the only reason which I feel many supply chain professionals, they are not able to get CPM certified. They think I'll get CPM certified once I complete my degree, or once I get married, once I get a stable job, once I get a good boss, once I see a dinosaur, all those of reasons. So basically, we just keep on postponing, think in anticipation of a situation in future, well, where we would be more stable in terms of in our life, or situations around where we would have more time to study, more appropriate, suitable situations, conditions for you to pass the CPM certification. But believe me, such situation is never going to come. The only right situation is now when you start preparing for a CPM certification. How it works, your mind will always trick you that you should postpone or wait for the right time. But what I have seen, once you take a target, okay, next within next 2 year I would like to take a certification. Once you set a target, and you set a target, you take the book, you take the study material, and once you go through the study material, and in my other lessons I talk about this, how you can plan your exam date. Once you have your study material in your hand, go through the study material. That would give you an idea how much time you need to study. Okay, so you take the study material, you book an exam date in future after 1 year. So once the exam date is booked and you have paid for it, hmm, once you have paid for it, then automatically your mind will start planning, preparing for the CPM exam. So it directly boils down to this. So you need to plan. Don't keep on postponing. Take the study material, purchase it, go through the content, decide a date. Okay, this is the date when I would like to appear for the exam and pass the certification. Once that is done, automatically none of these things is going to get will be affecting you. You will automatically start planning, preparing, arranging things, managing other things. Other things would be managed, other things would be taken care by you. But you need to plan. You have to stop postponing. You have to strictly stop postponing your CPM certification for the future. I see there are almost thousands of students that who have enrolled to my courses for CPM certification, but not many of them are actually going for. So we spend endless hours for researching for CPM, planning. Okay, next year I'll do, after this, after next quarter, after my next promotion, after my kids settle down. There can be a number of reasons why we just keep on postponing. We have to overcome that postponing tendency and plan a date and start working for it right now. So take a paper, plan it, pause the course lecture for now, and please plan your CPM certification. Thank you and have a great day ahead. Hey there, why are you so serious while learning? Let us make learning a fun process. I have brought some memes to lighten up your world. So let me show you one by one. First one, the procurement guys is going to have a big laugh after this, or if you are client itself. Second one, the moment you realize how you can improve your delivery performance by using a route optimization software. Haha, a good one. This one for the logistic and transportation guys. Another one, if any student is there from procurement, is going to definitely kill me after this meme. And this one is real crazy. I just forwarded it to my supply chain manager. The marketing one is the most funny. What marketing guys think supply chain guys are always sleeping. Okay, this is it for this lesson. I just wanted to give you all a break. Don't get stressed out too much into the lessons. See these memes and have a great learning ahead.
Hello everyone, welcome to the course again. Hopefully you're having good time learning about the CPM course. In this particular video, we'll be discussing about the important topics for the preparation of CPM part 1. The topics you shouldn't miss to study, the topics on which there are frequently asked questions in the exam itself. So let me take you through those topics. So I'll be quickly taking you through the subtopics or the topics uh, on which the CPM part 1 uh, focuses on. So in front of the topic you'll find the rating which I have given as per my experience. So if you see a number 1 it's an important question, number 2 it's very important, 3 highly important, 4 it's most important. This may vary uh, for person to person when you are giving to exam, but yeah, this is something. These are the topics which you'll find a lot of questions in the practice quizzes as well in CPM learning system, even pocket prep, and even the exam itself. So for the some of the cases you will find the short forms like FS, ATO, ATO is assembled to order, MAD, ATP, CTP I have mentioned. So as you go through the course, once you'll come to know what these abbreviations are. So sometimes, talking about part 1 specifically, you may have direct questions as well, like what is A2 order, explaining it, taking example of ATO, assemble to order. So they may give a situation uh, and explain the process and may ask you what is this, whether it's MTS, MTO or ATO. Then you have to judge and tell it's ADO. Or other way around, they may explain a supply chain process and its market, on the basis of which you have to tell which is the best fit for this. So such type of question you can expect. Part 1 is relatively easy. You can expect direct question. A lot of direct questions is easy when you just know the terms and terminologies of uh, the course, of the syllabus, and you are good through the course. You can easily solve the questions. The part 2 is going to be more difficult, and we'll discuss about it when that section comes. But currently these are the important topics. So I have few more slides. I'll just quickly rush through them. You can quickly make note of all those topics. Make sure you know everything about the topics which I mentioned in the slide, in and out, the examples, the applications, if there are numerical formulas, uh, all the quizzes, all the questions related to this, you are thorough with it. These are the second important topics. So intermediate project layout, the type of manufacturings. There will be questions on lean, house of quality, extrinsic forecast, leading correlation, intrinsic forecast, depth method, MTS, MTO, ATO, ETO. These are type of inventory methods, purchasing cycle, contract buying, what is input output for a master production schedule or CRP, liquid zone. So liquid zone is the different zones in your scheduling: slushy, liquid, freezed zone. So if you are not aware of these topics right now, it's okay. When you go through the topic, uh, keep a mark of this topic, and or once you have gone through the topic, highlight this topic and make sure before the exam you are going through them. There are a few more uh, important topics: APS, back first, income statement, technical capabilities, first criteria and purchase, routings, planning horizon, chase production level, subcontracting, tracking signal, ROI, Kanban, scatter diagram, how to increase the service level without increasing inventory. It's better forecasting method. So please also make note of the rating which I have given. That's also important. 1 is for important, 2 is for very important, 3 highly important, 4th most important. So part 1 happens to be easy compared to part 2, and you will find direct questions. So these, in the last slide you will find I have put those formulas from which you can expect question in your exam. So CPM is not just a theoretical exam. You will have to solve certain questions with the formulas, with using the calculators, with using pen and paper. So make sure that you practice as well. And specifically, which I have mentioned on the slide, these are the formulas, or these are the topics from which you can expect the numerical questions. The first is mean absolute deviation, inventory turnover, demand during lead time, calculate transit inventory, income statement, service level comparison for different stock as per customer. Also fill rate. So in service level, you can also expect the fill rate questions, rated capacity, utilization efficiency, service level percentage calculation. So these are very important. So I'll suggest for all this topic, write the formulas down in a paper, have it with you, say it day in day out, and also before the exam. So during my exam, I could find 15 to 20% of the questions were formula based. There are some students who don't get any, very few, like 1-2% of the formula based question, and there are others which students which get 30 to 35% of the questions which are formula based, numerical based. So it may vary, because the exam is, when you appear for the exam, the system pulls randomly certain number of questions. So how much number of questions you'll be getting formula based, that's totally on your luck, but it's better to be prepared. So these are the numerical questions which you should be prepared with. And that's it, what I had for the part 2 important CPM part 1 important topics which you shouldn't be missing in your preparation. Thank you and have a nice day ahead.
Hello everyone, welcome back to the course again. So this is an additional bonus video which I should be planning. So recently I was going through my CPM notes and I found out this. So this is top 10 topics for CPM part 1. This is what I prepared like 1-2 months before my actual exam, and I prepared this by researching through different websites. Uh, After my experience of going through APICS learning systems, what different types of quizzes they are asking, pocket prep, and after interacting with different CPM aspirants who have already cleared the exams, not the aspirants, the professionals who have cleared the exams. So after interacting with them, so these are the top 10 or 11 topics which you should never miss. You should study them thoroughly. All the numericals related to it, concepts related to it, flow chart, process flows, examples, case studies, everything. You should do it very properly for this top 10 topics. So unfortunately, I don't have the same list for CPM part 2, but yeah, for part 1 this should be very helpful. Although I have already released important topic list for both part 1 and part 2, and in part 1 you'll find them, but yeah, again this is the best of the best, top of out of the top. So these are the top 10 topics which you shouldn't fail while preparing for CPM part 1. Thank you and have a great day ahead.
Hello everyone, welcome to the course again, and congratulations if you have reached to this part of this course, which means you have cleared the CPM part 1. So I'll welcome you again, and congratulations, you have done, you are halfway through the course, and all the best for the part 2 of the certification. So before we get into the CPM part 2 important topics, let me just give you a brief idea how part 2 is. If you have cleared the part 1, and you will get a feeling that the part 1 is easy, there is unnecessary hype in the market that CPM certification is difficult, but all that difficulty you will realize in part 2. Part 2 is going to be 2 to 3 times more difficult compared to part 1. In part 1 you had direct questions based on the definitions, the terminologies or formulas which you have read in the course. But part 2 is going to be a different ball game altogether. Part 2 is not, you won't find direct questions, there would be application based questions. You won't find a definition and they'll asking you what it is. Now they'll give you a situation, they'll give a case study, and you have to apply it. It won't be a memory based. Part 1 was relatively more memory based questions, but part 2 is more application based. What, how your ability to think on the content what you have read. Part 2 is going to be more complex. You'll find 2-3 concepts coming together and forming a questions. So be prepared. You're going to feel the heat of the APICS certification. You will realize why the CPM certification is so much valued in the market after clearing the part 2. So let's get into the part 2 preparation. Now let's discuss the important topics for part 2. So you'll find more as compared to part 2 have you'll find more topics I have mentioned uh, in part 2 because the content is more, the syllabus is more. So let me re-emphasize this again, why we are discussing it. What are the important topics? Important topics are the topics from which you'll find a lot of questions coming in the learning system, in the pocket prep quizzes, and the exam itself. So you shouldn't be missing on any of this topic. Missing on this topic, you'll be hurting your scores a lot. So let me just quickly take you through the topics which are important uh, for CPM part 2 preparation. Product lifecycle management, manufacturing environment, 5 forces of framework, value chain analysis. So you can expect a questions which have implementation of product lifecycle and 5 forces of framework. Both the concepts have been applied in a single question. So you can expect such level of questions, not just a single thinking or single application of particular terms. You'll find multiple concepts combining, and you have to think from the perspective of multiple concepts to come up with the answer. Value chain analysis, Porter generic competitive strategies, financial statements, CSR models, risk management processes, process and layout choices for different manufacturing setups, sand cone model for continuous improvement, manufacturing and planning control, forecasting techniques, the different forecasting technique, regression, weighted average, moving average, Delphi method, qualitative methods. So you need to be thorough with all the forecasting techniques. S&OP process, how the process is, what is the first step, second step, third, fourth, fifth step, end-to-end process. You should know what are the different functions involved in different stakeholders involved in the S&OP process, that you should be knowing. MRP as a process, what is MRP, what is the input to MRP, what is the output to MRP, how MRP functions as a process, resource planning steps, CRP model, customer analysis, market life cycle, strategy evaluation, income statement, balance sheet, cash flow statement. So you'll find a lot of financial, numerical or formula based question, a lot of theoretical questions from finance side as well. So don't think the CPM is a supply chain based certification. You won't be having questions from finance. You'll be surprised, there is a good number of questions coming from this section as well, so don't miss out on this. Yeah, I know it may be difficult for you being a supply chain professional or if operational guy to understand this, but please take the pain to understand, to go through this financial terms, all the financial ratios you find, just go through them, learn them properly, because you'll be finding a lot of questions on in the exam. Cost volume profit analysis, break even point, industry attractiveness, different competitive factors, theory of constraint, VRIN, SWOT analysis, ANSOR product market growth metrics, life cycle analysis, standard deviation, causal technique, regression, moving average, weighted average, exponential scaling. All these are forecasting techniques, forecasting errors, the KPIs of forecasting, bias, standard deviation, tracking signal, CPFR, CRM, S&OP process, level and chase production. So different type of production processes. What are the applications? So there will be different market strategies they'll be giving you, and you need to judge which is the best fit for this, whether the level or the chase production. Types of bombs. So there are different types of bomb. ATP, PAB, overload and underload solution. So I'll repeat this again. So you'll be finding certain short forms which you may not understand right now, but once you go through the syllabus, you'll be easily able to catch it. Overload, underload solution, when the manufacturing system there is a lot of customer orders, how to handle it. A lot of underloading. There are not enough orders. The machine are idle. How to handle those situations. APS, Six Sigma, rated capacity. Rated capacity is one of the very important topics. You'll find a lot of numerical questions as well in the exam. Financial ratio, debt ratio, liquidity ratio. So all those financial ratio, you'll find 5 to 6 financial ratio. Uh, there would be a table, proper table in your study material. Just go through it. It would be really helpful. Product life cycle, types of integration. So you can go through all these topics. I'm just quickly rushing through all of them, and you'll be finding questions from them. Lastly is yeah, few more few more topics on which you will find questions. Yeah, last slide is about the formula based questions. So you will find good number of formula based questions in part 2 as well, and compared to part 1, it is going to be a little bit more difficult, uh, as it's the part 2 is itself is more difficult, but the formula based questions are also the number of formulas are more, and the questions are more difficult and complex as well. So I'll request make note down of all the terms which I have given on the slide deck. Make note of all the formulas and learn all those formulas, because you'll be finding direct questions from these topics in the exam. Okay, thank you very much. All the best for the exam. Now let's talk about the passing ratio. How many candidates who are appearing for this exam are passing this exam? So this is one of the most important thing to consider when you are preparing for this exam. What's the passing ratio? So here I have a data which is uh, published by APICS itself, and you can find it on the website, and even I'll be adding this into the resources. You can find it. If you see for different years they have provided, so NA is North America, ONA is other than North America. Total is the total of both. So you see part 1 and part 2. So CPM has two parts, as we discussed earlier in the videos as well. Unlike the other certifications, CSCP and CLTD, they don't have part 1 or part 2, but CPM does have. So looking into the percentages of passing, so part 1 in 2021 had 78%. Part 1 is comparatively easy, not just comparatively easy, it's considerably very easy when compared to the part 2. If you see, for the part 2 it's 76%. In 2020 it was 82% who are passing the part 1, 74% who are not passing. 2019 has a very low rate of part 2 passing, 58%, and that's quite understandable. But when I gave part 2 was real tough, and when you see the content, the amount of content this part 2 has, part 2 is almost twice as part 2 in terms of syllabus. One thing to note about this percentages is when you are going through them, so when you see that 74% or 76% is the passing, but you need to also consider that the retake is allowed in the exam. So assuming that 76% are passing and the 24% are failing, so assuming those 24% are the people who do retake, 76 around 20-25% are into the retake categories. Only 50% are getting through the exam in the first attempt. So that's very important, getting through the exam into the first attempt. Why? Because the cost of the retake is very high. In the previous video, in the exam details we discussed, you have to almost spend $400 to retake, and in INR it's almost 26 to 30k depending upon the dollar value. So it's very important that you make through the exam or prepare it in a way that you are able to clear the exam in the very first attempt. Thank you. Hello everyone, welcome to the course again. In this video we'll be discussing, am I ready for the exam? Believe me, this is one of the most haunting question, most difficult question in the mind of the candidates who are preparing for CPM exam. Am I ready for the exam? Do I need to prepare more? Have I done enough quizzes? Do I need to study the content more? So this question is always there uh, in the minds of the candidates who are preparing, and there is no fixed answer from which you can judge, because there are no questions or set of questions released by APICS, or these are the questions. If you are able to solve them, you are ready, because they are continuously changing their questions, their content every 3 and 5 years. So it's really difficult for the aspirants to judge, and there is not much available also on internet to understand this thing. So I'll give you few measures through which you can judge whether you are ready. These are the measures which I used for myself, or I discussed with my seniors who have cleared the CPM certification. So let us go through them one by one. First and foremost, you need to at least study the complete CPM bundle 2 times in depth. In depth means you understanding everything, reading through everything, you're not skipping anyway, you're solving each and every numerical, understanding every process flow. That's the first thing you need to do. You have to do the end-to-end reading, understanding, assimilating of CPM content or the study material which you have. That's the first thing you need to do. Second thing, after reading, then you'll realize that there are certain sections which you are weaker at. You are weaker. Certain section you are good at. You After that you need to do few revisions. So I'll suggest two to three times revision. In that revision, you can do revision from the notes or the sections which are highlighted in the books, which you feel it's important, or the important section which I have suggested in my course. Go through them. So 2-3 revisions I suggest. So reading 2 times and 2-3 revision. Next is that you are having a feeling that you're confident with 90% of the syllabus. Why 90% of the syllabus? Because 80% is the passing criteria. Confident means you know what's there in the content, you understand it, you will be able to reproduce it in the exam, and you will be able to think and answer questions based on that content. So you should be confident with 90% of the syllabus. Next thing about the quizzes. So now, by this much level of preparation, if you are able to score 80% in the pocket prep quizzes, I won't suggest learning system quizzes here, because the questions which are there in learning system are sometimes very difficult, very complicated, especially for the part 1, and the level of questions, the type of questions are not much relatable, or the same type of question coming in the actual exams from the learning system quizzes. So that's why here I have mentioned 80% of the pocket prep. So you're scoring minimum 80% in the pocket prep quizzes, and whichever section you're scoring below 80%, you need to again go back, study it in deep, and revise it, and become confident. So that's the 4 point, that you're scoring above 80%. Here I mentioned 80% on the safer side. I try to bring it to 85%. Next is you're fully confident and you know each and every formula in the book, all the terms, the supply chain terms, ATO, MTS, MTO, PAB, everything, all the terms, all the ratios, definitions, terminologies, all the supply chain language you have learned properly. And last, the process flows. So there are flows mentioned across the book, how the MRP process flows, what is the SNOP process, what the different stakeholders involved in it. So for the different processes which are mentioned in the book, you are thorough-witted. So these are the 4 things: formulas, terms, definition, and process flows. All of them, all whatever is mentioned across the book, you need to be thorough-witted. Next is I'll highly recommend whatever the important topics which I have mentioned in the course. There will be 2 videos you'll find for part 1 and part 2 separately. The important topics which I have mentioned, these are the topics where you'll find a lot of question coming into the exam, and skipping any of those topics would be a big blunder. So I'll suggest that please go through all those topics very thoroughly. Lastly, that when you're practicing quizzes, sometimes this pocket prep or learning system has short quizzes based on the particular chapter or unit or the book, but at the end the exam is going to be of 3 hours, and all the concepts would come together. When you're giving a quiz for particular chapter, you know that this question is based on this chapter, and this concept will be applied here. But when you're giving a full length exam which has concepts from all over the book, then you think in a way, then you have to think in your own way that which concept is going to be applied, or which concept needs to be prioritized to solve these questions. to 2-3 full length exams. Full length exams which has 150 questions, 120 to 150 questions, which are taking 3.5 hours for you, and you'll get an idea that where you're lacking, whether you're lacking in time management or formulas or memorizing, or you're not thorough with definition, process flows. Work on it, and once you're also scoring good in these type of quizzes, around 80%, then you are good to go for the exams. So all the best from my side. Have a good day. Hello everyone. In this video we'll be discussing exam day tips. These are tips which you should apply on the day when the exam is there. So let us discuss through them one by one. First is ABC technique to solve the quizzes. So what is ABC techniques? So when you are in the exam, you have around 100 plus questions which you are supposed to solve, and let us divide the questions by their level of difficulty into three sections. First is A type of questions which are easy, second is moderate, and C is difficult. Easy, it's just by seeing you know the answer. Moderate are the ones, you know, if you think a little bit or solve it, you can get the answer. C categories, you don't know, you have not much idea about it, not sure whether you're able to solve it or not. So when you're giving the exam, don't don't waste too much time on B and C type in the first round. So first round, when you're going on solving the questions, just skip B and C at once. Don't waste time on that. I'll tell you why. Because if you spend too much time, if initially you have too much questions which are C category, so the paper is not organized in a way that this is 2 mark question, this is 5 mark question, this is this much mark question, on the basis of which you'll be able to judge that this is a difficult question. And if by chance or unfortunately you have a lot of difficult question in the uh, first half or the first set of questions which are very difficult, you may be demotivated, and many students, by being demotivated, they lose confidence, and they do blunders in the B and A type as well. So my suggestion uh, is, first you should go for A type of question. Just skip B and C. In the first round, solve all the easy ones. In the second round, come back again from the first question and do the B category. And in the last round, you should go for C category. This step is also very important in terms of, or this technique is also very important in terms of your time management. In CPM part 1, you won't find so much issues with the managing time, but part 2 is a challenging exam. You will have a crunch of time, you won't be having luxury of time with you. So this technique is must when you're giving part 2 exam. Go through easy question first, then the moderate one, at last then the difficult one. You can always, and there is also one facility of bookmarking the question. If while attempting certain question you're a little doubtful and you want to come back to it or revisit again, when the time, if the time permits, at the end you can always bookmark, and at the end you can go through those bookmark questions. So this is the very important trick or technique. Don't just go with the flow of the exam and start solving in a typical way how you used to solve questions in your school days or college days. Question 1, question 2, question 3. No, that won't work here. You'll be hurting your scores. Secondly, stay hydrated. Have enough food, because this is going to be a long exam. Being hydrated is going to help you, and you won't get much of the breaks in between. The exam centers are very strict. They won't allow you frequently moving out or drinking water and all those things. They are not going to allow anything with you, not a single pen, paper, water bottle, one thing. So please be hydrated. Next step, which I would suggest, stop studying till last minute, because there is a lot of content. If you are studying till last minute, it is only going to confuse you, because the CPIM is mostly application based exam where you have to think and apply the concept. And if your mind is cluttered and is busy with a lot of input till last minute, you will lose the ability to think on the spot after seeing the question, and you're totally confused, and that will again reduce your score. So I'll suggest at least one day before, stop studying anything new. You may revise the important topics which I have given, you may revise the formulas, but don't stress yourself too much. And last 1 2 days, give yourself a break, because I'm repeating this, the exam is application based exam, not a reproduction of your memory what you have learned. Next important thing is, I'll suggest, when you're filling the exam form or applying for it, Make sure the name which you are giving matches with the identity card, because as I mentioned, the exam centers are really strict, and the names are not matching, they may send you back again. Lastly is go to center pretty well in advance, minimum half an hour in advance, because they have a lot of prerequisite processes, checking, filling of the form, and other things, where you have to deposit your all the accessories or the paraphernalia what you have, which is going to take time. So don't rush at the last minute. You should be calmly reaching and giving the exam. So that's it. If you have any questions more related to exam day, you can always ask into the comment section. Thank you very much.
How to stay motivated for the exam? This is one of the question which comes into the mind of the CPM aspirant once they start preparing and they are 1 to 3 months down the line. They see there is huge syllabus. They find the quizzes are difficult and somehow they have lost their motivation which they had before they started preparing. Now they have already paid for the learning system, the exam, and they are confused what to do. So here in this lesson, I'll be sharing some tips how you can stay motivated um, while preparing for CPI exam. First and foremost, that once you have planned your you have planned for that you want to go for CPI exam, and you decide at after how many months you want to take your exam. Once it's decided, please go ahead and schedule your exam. Once the exam is scheduled and you have that target in mind, okay, 1 year down the line I have my CPM part 1 exam, so you start preparing. This is the one of the mistake which CPM aspirants do. They don't schedule the exam, they wait when they are ready they'll be scheduling the exam. So that never happens. Once you schedule the exam, you start preparing yourself and you get ready for it. Other way around, it's rarely going to happen. So I generally recommend to the aspirants that you go ahead, first plan it, okay, seeing the syllabus and all those other things. So and the other lessons have talked about how you decide that when should I take the exam. So once you have decided I'll be taking the exam 1 year down the line, once you've decided, go ahead and schedule it. Once it is scheduled, you can once it is scheduled, automatically the motivation is going to come. There is a target, okay, within 1 year I have to give the exam, and naturally that motivation will start coming. If you haven't scheduled the exam, you may lose upon the motivation in some period. So that's the first thing you need to do. Now suppose even after doing this you are feeling loss of motivation, second thing which is recommended is you join a study group. Join the study group of people who are appearing for the CPM exam. Okay, and once you're in a study group, you form a WhatsApp group or Facebook group. You are asking questions or doubts to each other, and by seeing each other you get inspiration. So that's how the world works. By seeing others we get inspired. So that's the second thing, that you form a study group and you get into that. Third is the way that you set some targets for you. So in the course I've also talked about setting a study plan for you. So that's very important. Once you have study plan, okay, within 1 month I'll finish this much syllabus, within 2 months I'll finish this much syllabus. You have some targets for you. You keep a reward system for you. Okay, once I complete 50% of the syllabus, this is the reward for me. So have a reward system for you. You gift yourself something. So with that reward system, you get the motivation as well. So that's the third way. So even after doing all these things which I have told you, have scheduled the exam, you are in a study group, you have a reward system, you have a study plan. Even after doing this, still you are lazy and you are not able to do it, and you're still facing the issue, then I would recommend that you join join some classes where with the flow of the class or with the instructor, you are taken as per the schedule and you prepare. So that's the last way I would recommend, that if nothing is working for you, then you get into some instructor, study with an instructor. So there are many instructors to the market who teach CPM, or there are academies which do help the candidates to do CPM preparation. So you may join that or have a personal instructor for you which is motivating you periodically, so that you are motivated for the exam. So that's it. from my side how you can be motivated for the CPIM exam. Thank you and all the best for the exam.
Hi there, let's talk a bit about the talk of the town. CPM version 8 is out already, and many of you have questioned what is the content of the CPM version 8, why it was combined from two parts to one part. So let us discuss a bit about it. So if you see CPM historically, it was first originally in 6 parts, and this was version 1, and in version 2 it got combined into 5 parts. Then in version 6 and 7 we saw it was combined into part 1 and part 2, and part in version 8, which is this one, it is again part 1 and part 2 are combined to only one exam. So they do this basically for one reason. So any update has one primary reason, which is they want to add the recent trends in the supply chain, recent changes, which as of now is the industry 4.0, the analytics, the data science. Those parts needs to be added. So recent trends and best practices needs to be added into the content. That's the one reason for the revision of or the update of the content. Second reason, you see the APICS have been seeming to combine their modules. So it was 6, then it became 5. Now at this stage it became 2, and at this current stage, it's only 1. The reason being, since everybody is most of the people who are giving these exams are working professionals, and as the work life balance is getting demanding day by day, people are busier day by day, it's difficult for them to appear for multiple exams. The APICS is making the exam pattern easy for them, and they're combining and reducing it to less and less exams, and eventually as on date we have to give only one exam. So that way it's good that you don't have to give multiple exams. But another drawback which I see, that then the amount of content which you need to prepare is more. Now when it was part 1 part 2 which I gave, so this was part 1 and this was part 2, this much content. So for this exam I need to study only 2 modules, and this exam I need to study the 3 modules. The effort would get split, the amount of effort, because anyway you have to score 80% mark, which 80% score, which is a high target. So in that perspective, it's easier. So if you are a person who can't take or can't handle a lot of content at once, for you I suggest to till the time APICS is allowing to take part 1 part 2, you should go ahead and give the exam. But if you are a person who can't handle two exams, and you would prefer one exam at a time, that more suits to your personality, then you can wait and give the version 8 of the exam. So that's about version 8. Now let's talk a bit about the content as well. So here is the content of version 8. So it would have basically 8 modules, which is supply chain strategy, then SNOP, then demand planning, which has forecasting and everything, and there is supply planning, purchase, everything come under this. Then detailed scheduling, so this has MRP, master scheduling. Then there is inventory, distribution planning, then QMS, and continuous improvement. So these are the 8 modules. These are total 8 modules which the version 8 is going to have. And here I have also written the percentage which it would contribute, how much percentage that would contribute in the structure. So this is the structure of the volume which each one of the topic is going to contribute. So this is it about version 8 update. Thank you and have a great day ahead.
Hi there, welcome back to the course again. So after launching of this CPM course, I got a very good response. I have a very good response at this stage. It's kind of ranking number one on Google and Udemy as well. And I've been getting a lot of requests for the personal training as well. So considering my bandwidth, what time availability I have on my weekends, and considering all those things, I have come up with certain plan for the folks who are looking for the personal training. So who should look for personal training? As such, I have covered most of the things in my CPM course. But still, if you have very limited time and you don't have uh, what do you say, um, time to do more research, and you research on important topics or quizzes, solve more quizzes, or keep a lot of time, you have limited time and you want to do it in the first attempt, so I can help you in that with my personal training. So let me just keep brief you.